All right, let's get one thought on every playoff game this weekend. KC Joyner is in for one thought on every game. It's the wild card round. KC, how are you, pal?
Doing great.
Now, would you be okay with Press Taylor being the offensive coordinator?
I'm of the old mindset that, like Bear Bryant, when he was coach, he coached at 4 different colleges, and he thought that he shouldn't leave one job until he'd taken care of some business there. He got Maryland a winning season. He won a conference championship with Texas or Kentucky. He won a conference championship with Texas A&M. He never took another job until he did something. I'm looking at Press Taylor and saying, you're the passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach, and you think you get a promotion for what you did this year? I'm like, yeah, I can't, I don't buy it. But then again, you judge that based on their play calling ability, assuming you're going to give him play calling ability. So if you think his play calling ability is good enough, I guess I'd be okay with it. But I think it sends another bad message to your team that, hey, you can fail your way upwards.
All right, well, we'll see what they end up doing there. That is not guaranteed. That's just something Sal said he would be shocked if he was not the hire. We'll see how it ends up going. But let's get Casey's thoughts on Wild Card Weekend. One thought every game. Here we go. Let's start it off tomorrow right here on 97.3 ESPN. The early game, Indianapolis and Buffalo. Now, Buffalo can score. Their defense not so good. Indianapolis, good defense. Their offense has been up and down. A little contrast of styles here.
Definitely contrast of styles. Buffalo, though, 6 straight games since the Week 11 bye, they won, and they've outscored the opposition 229 to 110. So their defense is not great, but they're outscoring teams by 2-1 margin. I mean, they've done a fantastic job in putting up a bunch of yards and such. Indianapolis has scored. They won 4 of the last 5, scored 24 points in 8 straight games. I think this comes down to turnovers. When Indianapolis has 2 giveaways on offense, they're 2-4 this year, 2 or more giveaways. When they allow 1 or fewer giveaways this year, they're 9-1. I think they'll have 2 giveaways, though, and I'm taking Buffalo.
All right, you go to that second game here on 97.3 ESPN. It's an NFC West battle, but it's a little interesting. You got Seattle, who's been kind of Jekyll and Hyde defensively this year, more Jekyll in the first half, Hyde in the second half. They kind of shored things up defensively. Their offense kind of got a little off the mark in the second half of the year. You got injury problems with the Rams. So, Seattle at home against L.A. in the NFC West.
The problem for Seattle, early on, they got into all those, what I call track meets, and they gave up 135 points in the first 5 games. They gave up 2,356 yards in the first 5 games of the year. That's just insane. But they scored 169 points, won all of them. Then they had 3 more turnovers in 3 of the next 4 games, lost all 3 of the games they had the turnovers, said, look, we got to stop this. We need to get back to power rushing and counterpunch vertical passing. They're doing that now. They posted 110 or more rushing yards 5 times in 5 of the last 7 games. And the Rams, I mean, what they are is great defense and power running, but you got to have some passing. If they just don't have that given their quarterback issues, I'm taking Seattle.
All right, let's go to the night game. I find this one to be intriguing. I mean, Washington's defense, very good. Tampa, obviously, can move the ball. They can score. Washington can't. Tampa Bay's defense is a little leaky. The game's at Washington. It would be very NFC East for them to pick off an upset here.
It would. Hey, what does Arians say? He says this team, if this team had Alex Smith all year, you're not talking about a 7-9 club. You're talking about a much better team. And Arians, I don't think he's not lying when he says it. When he says something, he usually means it. The thing for Tampa Bay is they scored 23 or more points in all but 2 contests this year. They've only had 1 giveaway since their Week 13 bye. That was perfectly timed for them. They've been having problems with that up until then. It seems like that fixed a lot of the issues. I mean, Washington, they've got 14 takeaways in the past 7 contests. I mean, they've done a fantastic job. They allowed 20 or fewer points in 7 straight games. They allowed 111 points the last 7 games. They're doing great, but they haven't scored more than 23 points since Week 12, and I can see Tampa Bay getting to 20 and 24 points, even if Washington plays really well, and I just have trouble seeing Washington's offense getting there.
All right, you pick who?
Bucks,
okay. That's your Saturday slate, of course, all 3 games right here on 97.3 ESPN. One thought every Sunday game. The early one, Baltimore, Tennessee. Now, Tennessee, obviously, they won this game last year. They won big. They run the ball. Baltimore's a little different in terms of the team they were last year. I don't think they're as good defensively. They've been pretty good lately. Tennessee at home, though. How do you see it?
I love this matchup, old smash mouth football. The thing is, you think of smash mouth football, you think low-scoring games, something like it. That's not what this is going to be. I think this could be the highest-scoring game of Wild Card Weekend. Baltimore's on a 5-game win streak. They got 27 or more points in each contest, 186 points in that whole span. They've rushed for 230 or more yards in 4 of the past 5 games. They're the first team to post 3,000 rushing yards in 2 straight seasons. I mean, so they're a phenomenal rushing team. But, I mean, Derrick Henry's only the 7th player to win back-to-back rushing titles, and he also is the only player to tally 5 games of 200 more rushing yards, 2 or more touchdowns. I think there's going to be tons of big play rushing in this contest. I think both these defenses are bad. Here's the key. Baltimore's 2-2 in those track meet games I talked about, where each team scores 24 more points. Tennessee is 7-2. I think Tennessee can actually turn this game into more of a track meet, and they're just better suited for that. Add that to them being at home, I'll take the Titans.
All right, and then your middle game, it's Chicago, New Orleans. You got a 10-point line here, so it looks like, hey, this is an easy one for New Orleans. But they did play in the regular season, and it was a hard-fought win by the Saints. I think they won that game by 2. Chicago obviously kind of backing their way in here.
Yeah, New Orleans is outscored the last 2 opponents 85-40, and they could have done even more if they hadn't taken the fourth quarter off against Carolina. And it looks like Thomas is going to be healthy, Kamara is going to be healthy. They obviously got Breeze back, and they've got just a ton of talent. And the thing is, the Bears, take away that the last Sunday game against Green Bay, where they didn't play very well. They had posted 30 more points, 380 more offensive yards in 4 straight games. I think they'll be able to put up points, and I think they'll be able to turn it into a kind of a track meet game. But Chicago's allowed 27 points in 4 of the past 6 games. Their defense just isn't playing well. They're going to be missing Buster Screen. They've got some of the secondary injuries. I just think that they're too banged up to be able to take this one, so I got the Saints.
All right, and then your last game on the Sunday card, it, of course, is the Super Wild Card Weekend. It is Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Unfortunate for Cleveland, no coach. They just got back to practice on Friday, so it's been, obviously a tough week for them. And Pittsburgh, they've had their problems. So how do you see this one going down?
It's tough because the Steelers have given up 471 rushing yards in the last 3 games, so their rush defense is not playing that well. We know how terrible their rushing attack is. They've only tied 100 or more yards once since Week 6, and I think it was like 105 yards. They're terrible running the ball. Normally, if you put in that situation and say, hey, Cleveland, we know they can run the ball really well, and Pittsburgh can't play run defense very well. Their pass rush is doing so well. This could play into Cleveland's hands. And you're going to be missing I think they're missing 8 starters. Their head coach isn't going to be there. Pittsburgh, their injury report, they have nobody listed as questionable. The kicker is the only one who's questionable, and he practiced in full on Thursday. In fact, they have Robert Spillane possibly coming back. They have an opportunity to either play him or not play him, and they also are bringing back a starting guard potentially. So Pittsburgh's so healthy. Add that to them being at home, and I think last Sunday was an anomaly for that team because they took the game off. Cleveland's got very few chances to win this one.
All right, there you go. It's Wild Card Weekend. Now, it sounds like you like all the favorites in this game. If there was one upset, which one would it be?
I'd go with Baltimore be the upset game. I mean, that's such a toss-up game. I do my picks for PickWatch.com, and I only gave that Tennessee that one by a confidence level of 2, my lowest confidence level of the week, because when you get in those kind of track meets, they're 50-50 propositions, even for the best offenses in NFL history. And Baltimore, again, first team to rush for 3 straight years. They have big playability, so they could pull that off. That would be one. It wouldn't surprise me if you see go 34-31, and either team could end up at 34.
All right, there you go. One thought on every game. Casey will be back on Monday to recap the Wild Card Weekend, and then, of course, we will look ahead to the division round on Friday, and he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Casey, enjoy all the football this weekend.
You too. Appreciate it, Mike.
All right, he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda Hotline.